What's going on, Nittany Nation? Welcome to the Penn State Rivals YouTube channel. And I'm here to talk about this recap to the whiteout game. Obviously, we have a ton to discuss, not only just on the field, but off the field as well. But check in our YouTube videos. We also have Coach James Franklin's immediate reaction after the game. We always have people at the game covering that and getting that video for y'all. So check it out in the video. Should be right below this one. But we have a ton of news to cover. Like I said, this game had a lot of build up to it just because of the performance against Michigan. Kind of took away a little bit of the hype going into this game. But still, this is the whiteout. This is the craziest atmosphere in all of college football. People know that. The recruits showed up, and we'll talk about that too. And there was just a lot of build up to this one. There's a lot of question marks. Earlier in the day, they said, you know, Tanner Morgan was questionable, probably pretty much a game time decision. I didn't think he was going to play anyways. But then we saw Sean Clifford was questionable and possibly a game time decision. That kind of took me back. I was like, all right, we're going to have, Drew Allard possibly starting in this game, which would be his first whiteout game. But then also we knew that Ethan Kaliakmanis would likely be getting his first start. And just the beginning of this game, I wanted to see how Penn State really bounced back in two different categories. One, pretty much as an offense as a whole, just putting together long drives and the play calling and getting things to where it's just meshing together. Against Michigan, it just didn't seem like it was going like it did. Things just didn't work. It's just like he was just, calling plays, but they didn't really mesh well together. Couldn't get the running game going and couldn't get anything going through the air with Clifford or Allard through the air against Michigan. But then also wanted to see the run defense because we know how good Mo Ibrahim is for Minnesota, one of the best running backs in the Big Ten. He's been there forever, came back from the injuries, but he's one of my favorites to watch. He's just a great natural runner, great vision. He runs people over, very physical guy, but also has fast feet where, if you are trying to tackle him by his ankles, it's not going to work out too well. He's going to break a couple things on you. But obviously the thing starting off in this game was, Sean Clifford getting booed at the stadium. For me, stuff like that, I don't like. Obviously, you don't want to see that for the players. I mean, this is your sixth-year senior. I get it. You want the five-star like freshman to come out. You want to see what he has and everything. You saw him for a little bit in the game. You saw him against Michigan as well. So you've seen him in spurts. He's played about just about every single game this year, whether it's because of injury or because they were up big. But it's just so unfortunate to see that. And I think Sean Clifford handled it perfectly. If you check out the videos of, his reaction and the media talking to him after the game, just his thoughts and everything, I think he handled that perfectly. But then he comes out and, throws that terrible interception, by the way, when Parker Washington had a route across the middle, split the defenders, had the separation. If he leads them to the left side more, I think he hits them in stride as a huge touchdown. That place goes nuts. But unfortunately, it was more of just like a lob. It kind of sailed to the right a little bit, which is why it was picked off. Like I said, Parker Washington had that inside, which is exactly what he's supposed to do as a route runner. In his stem, he was phenomenal, got between the two guys, kind of stacked them up. And then on that release, that breaking point there, he handled it well. He had the leverage. He had all the separation he needed, but it just was not a good throw by Sean Clifford. So after that, I was like, all right, his place was already booing. This can't be a remix of what we saw in Michigan, just these stale drives just where nothing could happen. Of course, you had like the big run by Clifford against Michigan. Then you had the interception that had a lot of momentum. But I will say after that, Sean Clifford absolutely balled out. I said it on Twitter today. Minnesota was only allowing, I want to say it was like 11.6 points per game and somewhere around 160 yards passing per game. And Sean Clifford finished 23 for 31, 295, 4 touchdowns, and that 1 interception. And Penn State hung 45 on this Minnesota team. And I'm telling you, like, this Minnesota team, I've had people all season long say, put some respect on our name, not only just offensively, but defense as well. They've been a top 5 defense in all of college football for a long time, all season long. And you can't, you have to give them respect for that. I know, Nicholas Singleton, Kayton Allen did their thing too, and I'm going to talk about that. But I saw some big-time throws from Clifford. Of course, you had that one wide open one to Mitchell Tinsley where he just walks in the end zone. But that one where Parker Washington just climbed a ladder, went up and got it. But then also the methodical driving down the field, hitting Theo Johnson, which is great to see him back We know that Britton Strange has been balling all season. Now you got two guys that Sean Clifford loves to throw to at the tight end position that are just going to absolutely feast. And they both, showed up. They've been showing out all season long. They've been his go-to targets. But Theo Johnson was a leading receiver with 5 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown, had the most yards in the game. Parker Washington obviously had 7 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. But then also the throw to Tyler Warren, just going through his progressions. And, even when he's faced with pressure, which the offensive line did a phenomenal job. They've been great all season, not only in the run game, but also protecting Sean Clifford. Just going through his progressions, not forcing anything after that one bad throw. It's just like that interception fired him up, and he put it all behind him. Just like that Purdue game when he threw the pick 6. He said, whatever, short-term memory, I don't even remember that pick 6. Drives down the field just with these methodical, surgical throws to get down the field and then hit the game winner. So this game, I was like, all right, Clifford, you've got to bounce back. They've already booed you in the intros. Then he threw the interception that got them like rowdy, even more rowdy. And he came back. He showed a lot of poise. It's just nothing phases Sean Clifford. It's kind of reminds me of like Bryce Young, just with poise. Like even if they make a mistake or things don't work out or there's a penalty, whatever, he just says, I don't care. Like it's the next play. I'm not going to harp on something and keep that in my mind moving forward through the game. So just from a Sean Clifford standpoint, yes, the interception was bad, but after that, like he tore this defense apart. And I know offensively, Minnesota, obviously, they didn't have Tanner Morgan. Ottman Bell's been out for a while. They're just missing a lot on offense right now. But defensively, there was no reason for them to give up these big plays on the ground and especially through the air with Sean Clifford. I was worried this was going to be a 23-17, 24-17, just a close game where Clifford would have to throw the ball a lot. And 31 is, I think that's just right on cue for Sean Clifford. They ran the ball 34 times and they threw it 31 times. And that's fine. That's exactly what you want, a well-balanced offense. But he made the throws he had to. And it's just the touchdown throws were impressive. Obviously, Parker Washington climbing up there. He gave him a chance because he knows what kind of player he is. They practice together. He knows the tendencies of Parker Washington. But for him to climb the ladder like that, there was a lot of big-time plays on Saturday that impressed the heck out of me. Like the ones that were dogging the Michigan performance, rightfully so. It was bad. But don't sleep on this Minnesota team. I know they've lost 3 straight now. They started 4-0. They were really impressive. You saw Spawn Ford's one of the best tight ends in the Big Ten as well. They have a lot of weapons, but that defense has just been locked down all season long from Minnesota. So impressed the heck out of me. Running game, Kayton Allen and Nicholas Singleton both had big plays, whether if it was, Nicholas Singleton on that screen or when he's getting hit in the backfield and he just burst up the middle. Like I said, the offensive line did a great job. But then also Kayton Allen, the Virginia boy, like me. Got to give props. Running dudes over. I mean, I saw a physical Kayton Allen. That's how he's been all season long. But against a physical Minnesota team like this, I love seeing that. It wasn't Ohio or Central Michigan. It was a very good Minnesota physical, big defensive front. And he was running those dudes over. I think they're just such a well-balanced attack. Those two, they complement each other so well. Of course, Nicholas Singleton's first whiteout game, he scores 2 touchdowns. So I expect more of that moving forward in the future. Not only in the whiteout game, but just every season. He's going to be phenomenal. Can't wait to see it. And I already talked about the receiving game. Like I said, once again, just well-balanced. Theo Johnson, 5 catches, 75 yards and a touchdown. Parker Washington, 7 catches, 7 yards, and he had a touchdown. Mitchell Tinsley, my guy, 4 catches, 58 yards and a touchdown. And then, of course, Tyler Warren had the 1 catch, 38 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Warren it seems like whenever they need a spark, they need something to get going, like that Purdue game. Whenever they need a big catch, he's reliable. I love Tyler Warren. He's technically a tight end, but you can use him as like an H-back, fullback. He does a lot of things. So he's just one of those guys that are bought into the program. I love it. I think this receiving core, and I've been saying all the last few weeks now, it seems like there's something about this receiving game. The passing offense of Penn State just hasn't been there yet. I said there was another level to the passing game that needed to be unlocked, whether it was because of the quarterback struggles or the play calling or just not being able to get the run game going with the passing game. I felt like they were leaving so many opportunities out there guys were open on plays, but then sometimes like what's that play call on 3rd and long? Like it just didn't have guys in the right position to succeed. So I think just overall play calling wise, execution wise, I mean, this is as good as you can ask for. Like I said, 45 points on this Minnesota team is ridiculous. And then, of course, with Minnesota's offense, like I said, Tanner Morgan's out. He's not some phenomenal big-time quarterback, but he's still like their reliable guy. They know what they're getting out of Tanner Morgan. And this was Ethan's first start. You know, I think he has a bright future. He's really athletic. Had a couple good runs. He had 7 carries for 45 yards. I think he had like a 15, 16-yarder a couple times. I was like, okay, like he shows a little bit of spark. Tanner Morgan doesn't really do that too much, but he finished 9 for 22, 175 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Obviously, we saw Spawn Ford once again how good he is. I knew that's like their top target. Same with Brown Stevens. They just couldn't get anything going. I was really impressed by Penn State's front, not only because like Chop Robinson was out, but this is the most snaps that we've seen Abdul Carter and Curtis Jacobs play, especially at the same time. And to no surprise, this was, to me, their best game. And I said this after the Michigan game. You need to have those two guys on the field, not only at the same time, but about 80 to 85% of the time, just because they're too good. They're both, not right now maybe, but they're both going to be NFL caliber linebackers. I think Curtis Jacobs is already pretty close to that. And we know Abdul Carter is young, but he has that potential. So there's no reason for those two guys not to be out there. And I get it. You want to rotate guys in, and you've seen a lot of good things through your linebackers all season. Everyone's contributed so far. But I just like having guys out there to where they can, you know, get those reps, but then they can also get a feel of what the offense is doing, kind of settle in and just build this momentum and live off of it. And I think that's what we saw out of Curtis Jacobs and Abdul Carter, who both led in tackles on Saturday. Chris Jacobs had 14 total, 7 solo. He had more solo tackles than everyone else had total tackles on the team except Abdul Carter, who had 8 tackles, 3 solo. But Jacobs had 2 tackles for loss. Abdul Carter had half a sack and half a tackle for loss. And, of course, Ji'Ayir Brown, Tig, doing what he does, gets interceptions, but also just phenomenal coverage by Joey Porter Jr., something I tweeted out as well, that video of him. The dude's been locked down. I mean, the whole defense, like I said, it's a well-balanced machine, but you have these big-time playmakers. You don't throw at Joey Porter Jr., but when they do, he's ready for it, and he gets pass breakups. I think he has 10 pass breakups on the season by himself, and he's only allowed like 10 completions or something like that. It's pretty close to that all season long. And he just doesn't get targeted much at all. But not only does he like force incompletion, but pass breakups mean like he actually gets a hand on the ball. So like obviously he hasn't allowed that many catches, you know, for what he's been targeted. But he's just getting his hand on that many, just being physical, that man coverage, whether it's press, off, bail, whatever. He does a great job. Obviously, I'm a Washington fan. I hope we get him. But there's just playmakers all over the place. Daquan Hardy balled out too. I saw a lot of good things out of both Kings. Adisa Isaac stepped up with Chop Robinson out, being that guy on the line. Same with, you know, PJ Mustafer. But we knew that Mo Ibrahim was going to run the ball. And they ran it 30 times with him. So you look at the stat sheet, you're like, oh, man, he had 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. Like, what the heck? Honestly, that's not that bad, especially because he ran it 30 times. It's a 3.4 average. His has been way over that on the season. So I think they not only just stopped the passing game of Minnesota, but they contained Mo Ibrahim to where he didn't really get that much until like later in the game when they started putting those drives together. I think he scored, what was it? Like, well, Spawn Ford scored with like 9 minutes left or something like that. And that's when they really started driving down the field in the fourth quarter, when it was already 38-10. And then they made it 38-17. So I think just defensively, Penn State just gave Minnesota no chance to, one, build momentum to get anything going, whether it was because they're stopping the run or is the turnovers or is the 3-and-outs, the pass breakups by the defense. But then Penn State put together drives, like great run, smart passes, a deep pass, a great run, smart short passes, a screen to Singleton who makes it, go for a big gain. So I think it was just a well-balanced coaching effort. Way better than what we saw in Michigan when, the coaching and the players, certain ones, and the play calling was just not there against Michigan. They got out physical. Penn State just showed me a more physical team against Minnesota. And that's what just really impressed me the most. I didn't expect them to hang 45 points on Minnesota at all. I don't think many people did. But the whiteout was crazy. Just seeing it on TV, wish I was there. It was loud. I think in the first, midway through the second quarter, Minnesota had 5 false starts alone. So it was just crazy. It's always going to live up to the hype of it. Minnesota actually had the ball longer just because they did run it a bunch. But obviously Penn State won the penalty battle, 8 for 52 yards for Minnesota, and then 4 for 35 yards for Penn State. But then also third down. Minnesota was 2 for 13. You're not going to win a game going 2 for 13 on third downs. Penn State wasn't phenomenal on third downs, but 5 for 11. I'll take that compared to a couple of games that's been worse than that on the season. But still, you've got to be happy for this. If you're a Penn State fan, what you saw both sides of the ball, exactly what you want to see, kind of like a bounce back game. Penn State is now up to number 13 in the polls. So kind of fell back from the Michigan loss. It was ugly. But then you get a game like this, and it just sets up a crazy big noon Ohio State game next week at Beaver Stadium. Somehow the college game day is not going to this one, which is bonkers. You have Ohio State versus Penn State at Beaver Stadium, which I hate that. It's a noon game. I wish it was a night game. But it's just setting up as a phenomenal game. Obviously, I'm going to talk about that, preview it, try to get someone from Ohio State on here to talk about that matchup, what to look forward to, because they had a good game against Iowa. Saw a couple things that really caught my attention from that Ohio State team. They got some injuries and stuff they're dealing with as well. But still, great game. A ton of recruits there. We've, the whole team's been getting guys together and reactions from all the recruits that were at Penn State for the whiteout. Seems like every 2 minutes a recruit was like, yep, we're going to be there. A lot. This is the most I've ever seen on a visit. And a lot of guys that have been doing this for a long time said the same thing. This was the biggest weekend recruiting-wise when it came to visits coming to Penn State. So check out the website. I'll put the link in the description, as always, pennstate.rivals.com, so you can see the full list of who all was there, but then also their reactions as those have been starting to roll in as people are getting back to their house and just kind of soaking up the experience. 5 stars, 4 stars, current guys, some flip candidates that you need to keep an eye out on. So subscribe to the channel to get all of your Penn State coverage here on Penn State Rivals, and subscribe to the website so you can get all that insight for not only recruiting for football, but basketball. We got wrestling, hockey, you name it. There's a ton of coverage, and always on the Twitter account. So I'm Josh Taylor, and I will see y'all next time on Penn State Rivals.